in time, you married and you got an Italian name, obviously married to an Italian gentleman.
Yes, I am.
So how did you get over all that stupendous pain?
Well, when I was 16, I had a massive breakdown and I was rushed into hospital and I ended up in a mental hospital.
Which one?
It was Stannington at the time.
I know Stannington.
Yeah, Stannington. Yeah. I ended up in there and I didn't think anybody realised just how ill that I actually was. And,
did they know your story? Did they know how much pain you've been through?
No, they didn't know anything at all. You know, nothing at all. Nobody. It's probably different today. It was a terrible place to have been there because I was put into padded cells. I became a very severe epileptic.
Anything to say, cool, look after me, man. I'm also a human being.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all you were saying.
That's all it was. And I didn't, the epilepsy then, which they're ignorant to today, obviously I was awake and some of these seizures and everything, and they didn't know what was going on, so they kept me in a padded cell where I suffered a big injuries and I ended up losing my sight. Although there's hereditary in the family. My grandmother was blind. Okay. My great-grandmother was blind.
So what age were you when you got blind?
I was 16 and a half. When I lost my sight.
I'm just amazed at this woman that she can sit here and talk about it, and I feel like, I mean, interestingly, I had no other music, so I put on this sad Indian music, and I thought I'd change it. But that's making me cry. Honestly, it's really touching me because, you know, here's a girl of 7, her home is broken off, like when we go abroad, like Paddington Bear, landing up in London. Have you seen Paddington movie? No, I haven't. Can you see movies? Can you enjoy them?
No, I listen to them and I can enjoy, Okay.
So how blind are you? Can you read anything?
I can't see at all. Just light and dark, but a different light and dark to a sighted person, light and dark.
Okay.
You know?
So you can't read anything whatsoever. It doesn't matter the size of the sight.
No, I can't see at all.
And yet you're fully functional.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
But that's the beauty to celebrate Disability Day today, though one day late. It's amazing. So what made you such a nice person?
Well...
Who wants to go to Speakers Club and show off and enjoy life? How dare you enjoy life? You should be sitting miserably knitting booties for your nephews and grandchildren.
I think everything in life is up to us, which pathway we choose to go down. Everything.
That's why she's here.
Yeah.
And you have a thing called cards we are dealt with.
Playing the cards you dealt, yes.
Wow.
Yes,
and that's exactly the same. Christine, there, she's different.
You know, Mike, you and I should be ashamed of ourselves. Our life has been cozy.
I wanted to give up. There was many times I fell into the depths of despair. I wanted to give up, but I realised by the time I was 18, it was up to me what I did with my life.
That's very early. I met patients who are 50, 60, 70, and they're still playing this game of being depressed.
No.
It's just a game, you know. It goes on and on and on. And psychiatrists make money out of it. The patients get a role, and then they don't have to do washing or cooking. But they're damaging their lives. People don't realize.
This is where I bring in this playing the cards you dealt, because if you're playing cards and you have a game, the only person who can win that game is you.
Yes.
You can't take the cards.
You can't change the cards and say.
You can't do anything about it. They're the cards you're being dealt. And if you want to win the game, you've got to play them to the best of your ability.
The first book this man gave me.
Way of putting it.
The first book he gave me, which is not in Braille, it says SUMO. What does SUMO stand for?
Sumo. Shut up and move on.
That's the name. Honestly, that's the name of the book he gave me to read. I'd like the hint, mine. Shut up and move on.
Because still talking.
You know, it amazes me. I mean, my brother-in-law was severely disabled. He had terrible arthritis from an early age, and he ended up in a wheelchair. And I got to know Steve through my brother-in-law Alan. But it was remarkable. He had a season ticket at St James's Park. He never missed a game. He went to Wembley. He ended up in a motorised wheelchair, and he got around and he got on with his life, and he lived it to the best of his ability. He went out on a Friday night to the club, on a Saturday night to the club, and on a Sunday, and he had his own group of friends. And it's unfortunate that there's a minority, I think, of the disabled community who play the disabled card. And it is a minority. And people see them on a regular basis, and people then look upon them as the norm.
Yes.
And they're not.
But they sell disability very badly to the allegedly able-bodied people.
Yes.
And they sell them badly. They make them look negative.
Well, you've got two choices, haven't you? You can either accept and go for the pity and accept people who are not understanding you and whatever it is.
The poor you syndrome.
Yes. You can either accept that, or you can get on with your life. And there are, I think Mick's right, I think the majority do get on with their life, and they don't want anybody pitying them and treating them any different to anybody else. We're all people, and we want to be treated the same. We might have a white stick to help us get around, or a set of wheels attached to our backside.
A white skin.
Yeah. I think that was me. I fell into a lot of self-pity because I think sometimes you can end up thinking that you're the only blind person in the world, and you forget that there's a lot of other people out there that are far worse off
who are
than
achieving.
you.
Helen Keller and people like that have done so much for the world, and thank God they have a disability.
Yeah.
I used to run asthma swimming club for children, and they all became athletes, you know, because somebody's given some attention. Because they have asthma, I said, come to the swimming pool, which is warm and moist. Cold, dry air is bad for asthma, okay? But I got to know the kids. They became, you know, often, I mean, I don't have a speech impediment. I used to be scared of speaking, you know, in my Catholic school. No, I'm not. I say, what a small audience. I'm nervous here because I'm used to much bigger audiences. So we can overcome our difficulties. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Speakers Club without any pejorative terms, which I warn you were not allowed to use because I'm still married to the other Speakers Club. So let's talk about...
Is that the one we were at last night?
Yes.
We're not allowed to talk about that one, are we not?
Well, I'm still married. It's like talking about my ex-husband. I'm in that Speakers Club.
Yes.
It started 45 years ago, and it was very good. And it broke off from the Toastmasters. But it became so exclusive that when a woman president joined, a guy left. And the other way to leave is to die because they're all old now. I joined as the youngest person. That, for God's sakes, I was 65. And it's very hard to reach young people and say, but when I heard about you, I went to your club and there were so many foreigners that I thought, well, there are more foreigners here than I can count on my hand, so I won't go back because their English was even worse than mine. But when I went recently, I was so impressed. I made a video and I put it on. And none of my team even commented. They just ignored it. It's like putting a used condom on the table, you know. Nobody wants to talk about it. You know? It's a bit like that. So, but yesterday was wonderful that you came, you know.
It was an eye-opener for me, because it put in contrast the difference and the culture growth. Because I think I don't know how Mick, I haven't had a chance to talk to Mick since we came, but it was very regimented, I think. And it wasn't as relaxed as A1. You know, you start with this rostrum idea and a fancy badge on the front of that. I think
that all frightens people.
Well, it does, and it's also a barrier. You know, the speaking that Christine witnessed at the PSA and what we do at A1. You've got a stage, and part of that thing is to use the stage, and you come forward to the audience
and you walk around.
And you walk around.
Yeah.
You get behind that podium.
And you start talking to individuals.
And you're stuck there. And only hand gestures, you might see anybody lifting their hands above the lectern.
What I found, and me and your president had quite a good conversation, and a lengthy conversation, was there's nobody really learning anything. You get up there and you do your speech, and you do get an evaluation. However, to overcome the crutch words, the ums, ahs, ems, so's, there's nobody pointing them out to anybody. Well, and if you notice it,
I took the courage. You weren't there, perhaps. The lady who read the poem after that. She's a little lady. She was a hairdresser, and she's now a city lawyer.
Yeah.
And at her first speech, she says, "Someone took pity and gave me a job." And when she came and sat down next to me, I said, "Congratulations for speaking. You come from the world's most exclusive city called Blythe. You worked in a hairdresser shop, which is not the makings of a city lawyer.
No.
So why aren't you proud of yourself? Why are you so ashamed?" And then that has changed. But yesterday she went, this, that. And actually, Matt Hudson, what is his name? Matt, what is his first name? He was saying, Matt is his first name. He was saying, you get the habit. It's true.
It's true. Everybody gets crutch words.
Yes.
And it's amazing because once it's pointed out to you, you recognise it. But you can guarantee 3-4 weeks down the line, you will develop another crutch word. And unless somebody says to you, you're using this all the time, well then you're really, really struggling. That's something that needs, I think, to be addressed. And talking to the chairman of your education slot, what he put on at the beginning I thought was excellent.
But he took the courage to have an education slot.
And I thought that was excellent. But what we tried to explain to him was every meeting we have 10 to 15 minutes, which is an education slot. where we'll talk about body language, we'll talk about vocal variety, we'll explain to people how to discover a subject, to develop a speech, how to put a speech together, and also one of the things it's in a Toastmasters magazine, how to help your butterflies fly in formation, how to keep those butterflies that you've got in your stomach, how to control them.
It's fascinating what you're saying, because I did a speech on stress, but I wouldn't call it stress. I call it glossophobia. So everyone takes it. I'm doing the same damn speech about stress. It is the same thing.
It is.
And interestingly, upstairs, I've been running with my friend Alan Curry thing on employment. And we actually sit down with people and say things like, why are you so frightened of speaking English properly? You're from where? Poland. I said, how many years? He said, 10 years. I said, you've been in Newcastle 10 years? He said, yes. I said, I'll fall off my chair, man. Why do you speak as if you just landed from Poland? Come on, change your English, improve. And to the Indian fellow, I said, you've been here for 12 years as well. You answer telephones, that's your job. I wouldn't give you a job. It is so heavily Delhi accent, and you haven't changed any bit. We say things nobody else will tell them. And we video them. And all of you are welcome to a session upstairs to sit, because I'll ask them first if they mind. Because I videoed them again today. And if they are up for it. Because if they're not up for it, how can you face an interview panel? If I can't talk to you three just now with the open heart, and I know you guys, how can I face an interview panel?
Well, this is the other thing that did come through. It was the same last night, although it's hard to gauge after one visit there. But the one thing that we always say to the Toastmasters is that you are amongst friends and you get to know people socially, not necessarily outside, although we are having a social function in a couple of weeks' time, but you're meeting people who you know regularly at that meeting, and you're going to have a chance to practice in a comfortable environment where somebody wants to help you. That's the important thing. You've got to realise you're going there to be helped, not to be slaughtered and saying you shouldn't do this.
No. Not to do the fail.
I would fail you on this test. That's not language that is I like that.
So it's how to give feedback without crushing people.
Absolutely, yeah.
People criticise the praise, commend, recommend, commend system. However, if you start off with what you like, I really enjoyed that, I would do that differently. And the reason why I would do that differently is...
It's not you and why.
No.
Every time you ask someone a you question, you're pointing at someone. So instead of saying, Steve, you were late. Well, you weren't. Steve, why were you late? So I'm pointing a finger and saying why. But if I said, Steve, you're quite timely most of the time. I was a bit surprised the other week you were a few minutes late. Yeah. That is a much more gentle way. And coming from an Indian, I've had to learn this, because in India we say, you
start to fear it being like school where you're going to get bollocked off the teacher. When you do your performance, it's just the same as handing your English homework in, and the teacher says, now we're going to go over your English homework. And if all you're doing is slamming it, instead of saying, those first 3 paragraphs were very good and you got the structure correctly, I think it's like endorphins, isn't it? You're starting to feel good about it. And yet, then you're more receptive to something that came, well, this next paragraph wasn't so good, and this is the reason it wasn't so good. And like as Mick says, if you'd said it this way, it might have been better. And that goes in better because you've already got a good feeling about it. But if from the first moment you think, oh God, what else are they going to say next? I'm terrified.
I remember somebody at you one doing an evaluation of somebody. And he started off by saying, you know what's happening next?
Well, Steve was my agenda, weren't you, Steve?
Well, the PSA doesn't have as much of an agenda, but it's there is a kind of structure which wasn't really fully done at that meeting, because it was, there was a...
But if you hadn't have been there, would have been a loss.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Definitely a loss.
But certainly, we're hoping, Christine, that you'll be able to come to Way 1, I think, in the new year, which I think you said you would be able to.
Yes.
And... it's a different sort of thing. The PSA and the and Toastmasters are totally different. Toastmasters and the Speakers Club that went to are the same sort of thing. They're helping people to get better speaking, but there is a significant different way of doing it.
So we are high-end amateurs and professional is professional. Where you
we are
where you speak. No, but when you go to the professional,
that's it.
You get paid.
PSA is
there are people who are really high-end who get paid for speaking.
The PSA is the strap line with the PSA is people who speak for a living. So that can be people who do keynotes, people who do training, where you're getting in front of an audience and getting paid for it.
It's just a higher level.
But you've got to learn the skills. And the way to learn the skills is to go to a Toastmasters club or to go to a speakers club like last night. There's no doubt that anybody going there and practicing speaking, because that's what I said to one of the ladies that I was sitting next to last night, and it was refreshing to see. There was 4 ladies there, fairly young, some of them, so they are attracting people in at a younger age. And the one I was speaking to, I forget her name now, Joe, I think it might have been. She'd only been going a few weeks. It was about a 3rd meeting, I think, and she had done initial speech. In fact, she was on the education bit when we went in. And then it came to Toastmasters, or the table topics bit, or topics as you call it. We call it table topics in Toastmasters. And she wasn't sure whether to do it. And I said to her, I says,
just do it.
You've got to get up there. I says, you've got to take every opportunity to speak. And it's only 2 minutes. And what's the worst can happen? And she did it, and she did a great job. I mean, I think she was excellent. Talking about new houses or old houses. And
she spoke excellently.
Yes, she did.
She spoke absolutely excellently.
Yes.
And I think, going back to where we are with the R counter and the grammarian, those are small rules, where it gets people into the habit of listening. You become a better listener because you've got to listen to all the ums, ahs, and report back. And because you've got to stand up there for 2 minutes and actually give the evaluation as to who's done what, ers, ahs, and ems, who's used the word of the day. We had.
Did you insert a word? You give a word, and whoever's speaking has to insert that word.
I mean, we had eschew. You know, that was the word, and you see it written down, but you never ever try to use it. Yeah. How to disregard something.
Yes, yes.
It's how do you actually.
So you become a better wordsmith as well, apart from a better speaker. Yeah. And I'll go one step ahead. Let's go to India. In 10,000 years ago, when yoga was developed, they had 7 chakras. You must have heard about them. Most English people call them chakras wrongly. It's chakra meaning a wall. It's a concept, you know, like body, mind, spirit, like Maslow's needs. It's the same thing. It's more ancient and more detailed. The 5th chakra is about expressing yourself. Now, expressing yourself could be through painting, through dancing, through poetry, through whatever. But speaking is the most common one. A child doesn't get born and start writing poetry. He doesn't bring an instrument. He doesn't do drama. He just squeals.
But it was interesting. You actually used that Ken Robinson
videos, yeah.
And that is an actual tremendous video to see right from beginning to end. When he talks about how we educate creativity out of our kids, absolutely tremendous. And
so listeners, please note down Ken Robinson, Sir Ken Robinson, and if you go to TEDtalks.com, TED.com. I actually got the apps on my thing and all. He really does it, and I'm rightly you point out. Next time I'll do a talk, and I'm glad they failed me. They said you showed too many videos, didn't speak enough.
You are a disgrace.
I am always a disgrace. I'm like shit on the shoe, you know.
Video killed radio star. What do you say?
That's it. Video killed the
radio star. Oh, I'm not a radio star.
Oh, yes. You don't know how many people. There's thousands of millions of people listening to this now.
Are they?
Yes. It's the people turn off Radio 1 and start to listen to this.
Oh, I'm competing with Alan Robson then. so anyway, and they were right. She says, take one. Actually, I wanted to overkill TED Talk. I wanted them all to do it. I mean, they all talk about being Luddites. The guy who was complaining about technology, he's just bought himself an iPad. But he won't acknowledge it. Because people want to look like old, you know. I don't know what it is in people. When you get old, you die, don't they?
He goes on eggheads. Is he a genius? Like, because those eggheads, I can't answer the questions on that. So he goes on there, does he?
No.
No?
Not interested.
Watches it. Not you. No, you don't.
I can't do it.
He seemed to be...
So expressing ourselves is very important. Otherwise, you fall ill. It's quite simple. You guys won't fall ill because it's something to look forward to on a 2-weekly basis. You're preparing for it. It's fun. And
it builds your confidence.
Yeah.
Once you've got in and got over that, well, there is a fear factor when you go in the first time.
Of course.
It's a bit like Christine talked about going to PSA. She didn't know what to expect. So the first important thing is you're made welcome. And hopefully I helped you contribute to that. And others were talking to you as well. You talked to, I think it was Pete Wilkinson. He said, could you write the notes down of what he'd written on the flip chart, which obviously you couldn't see. And he read them into your audio. People will be very helpful in that organisation. I'm sure they'll be very helpful in the Speakers Club. I don't think anybody's out there to knock anybody down. And certainly that we go out of our way.
I mean, the range of people you have: old, young, fat, thin, tall, short.
Who's fat?
No.
There's any fat people going out.
I've suddenly gone blind, otherwise I would have said it's you. By the way, tonight at
no, I'm not going out.
Tonight at 7
I'm going out
o'clock.
for a meal with my wife.
So from fat, you're getting fatter.
Yes. I'll push myself.
I'll put a fatwa on you. Getting
No,
fat.
I'll come sometime.
Okay, so we're running this protein-based food thing, but what I like about it, apart from meal replacements, is there's a community to develop. And I want you there also because they have to learn to speak. Because if you're selling an idea, you have to learn to
They don't speak, these people, do they?
Well, they kind of come, and some of them will say, I'll do it, but I won't be seen in public. I said, you get thin and people will ask you, what will I tell them? I said, tell them got cancer. Because getting cancer is better than saying I'm trying to lose weight and succeeding. I don't know why people have all these hang-ups or what, and women and age. You see ancient-looking women who are only like 50 but look like 90. I'm not telling you my age. I said, I'm not going to propose to you, I'm just asking a biological age if that's of any interest. But, people have such hang-ups and such, I can't do this, I can't say this in front of that one. I mean, don't purposely hurt anyone. I mean, I'm sure I've succeeded sometimes, but generally, I say things that if you hurt somebody, I'm sorry. It's the truth. Look it up on the internet, see it on YouTube. So, tell me, what did you get out of coming into the Speakers Club? Because you are quite amazing, having been so badly bruised by life. And you're like opposite of Buddha, Buddha, the great man, Gautam Buddha, the Buddhist man. He had a cushy number. And then one day he realized his father protected him from pain, from illness, from pregnancy. He wouldn't get pregnant, but his father married him off because he didn't want to be of a worldly type. He wanted to do something saintly. And he did. And one day his coachman took him out and showed him somebody was ill, and he didn't know what illness looked like. He didn't know what old age looked like. Why somebody walking with a stick bent over? He said, old. He said, what is old? He said, one day he said, I'll die as well. And it was a shock to this man of 15, 16. So he left everything and went and meditated and created Buddhism, Yep. So if you hide from the truth, well, our friend here, she's not hidden. She's grossly been given it. I mean, Christine, tell me more about your life then. You went to school, you did this, you did that, you felt like killing yourself, you were banging your head against in Stannington, and then what happened? How did you change?
Well, like I said, you just, you want to kind of give up. You think there's nothing that you can do. But I really believe, because I did karate for 3.5 years before I went blind.
Because you had sight then, yeah.
I had sight then. I met my husband, who is my husband now. I went away to a rehabilitation centre when I was 18, and I met Raymond there. And Raymond is blind.
That's Raymond Deponio.
Raymond Deponio, yeah.
And he still teaches karate?
No, he was blind, but he was a great encourager, because my family were kind of more negative and knocking you down and things like that. I don't know. I mean,
if you want to survive and be happy, how does it bother anybody?
Yeah. But anyway, he was a great encourager, and I wanted to get back to karate, and my achievement in life was always to get my black belt. So because I'd lost my sight, I thought, oh, there's no way I can get my black belt in karate.
Yes.
But again, everything in life is up to you. So I thought, well, it was about time I started pulling my socks up, getting my life together, and it was up to me, again, with pathway I chose to go down. So I decided, right, if I want to get my black belt in karate, why don't I just get back to it? So I went and started training in the house for almost 7 years.
Wow.
And then when I got the confidence built up, then I went back to it, and I was the first blind female in the world to achieve a black belt in karate. And I think it's when you get over one hurdle, it gives you the confidence.
Other hurdles don't look so big.
The other hurdles just kind of follow. And that's the way my life's always went on from then. So I think if you want goals and dreams and things in life, you've got to go after them. They don't come to you on a silver platter. You have to go out
But they come and knock on your door, and we'd close the door, don't we?
We do. Yeah, we close it.
I mean, I met Mick in some place I was filming for no profit whatsoever. I was filming a employment fair.
Syed College.
And he says, what are you? You're this amazing speaking club. What do you call it?
A1 speakers.
No, your own personal.
My speech genius.
Which Englishman uses words like I'm a genius?
Wow.
But he's proud to be who he is.
Yes,
I
exactly.
thought, wow, what a What an amazing guy. He's English and yes, he's so proud of himself. And then he links me with Steve, who now links me with you.
Yeah.
And that's how the chain goes, isn't it?
Well, I think your brain's a marvellous thing. And I know I was telling myself I couldn't do it. So I think if you tell yourself something that you can't do it, then you never will.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, and I just felt, right, I'll give myself a good talking to. And I really did. I used to say to myself, right, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. There's no reason why you can't. And I think you
Who's
have
that voice in your head who tells you you can do it?
Yeah, I just...
Who is it from?
Well...
Granny?
No. I've realised it was eventually from God.
Okay, let me... Oh, wonderful thing you have said. I'll tell you about a lady who I haven't brought to the studio, but I will one day. This woman walks in with a very poor left hand. This is about 20 years ago. And I said, what's wrong with your hand? You know, I'm like a child. If I don't say it that time, I'll be too embarrassed. So I said, oh, my mother gave... I had some... at the age of 4, I had whooping cough injection. I went paralyzed. And this left me that. When was that? Yeah. At that time, my mother left me. I said, what? Say that again. She just met me the first time in her life. And she said, my father is a boiler maker. My mother is this. And when I had this, my mother left. I said, what an effing D. I said that to her face. And she hugged me and cried. Because everyone says, poor thing. The bloody mother has dumped the kid.
Right.
And everyone's saying, oh, poor mother.
Mm-hmm.
But this poor soul was so starved of her mother's love that her mother was a poshie. She used to go to Theatre Royal and all. And this girl used to go to Theatre Royal to even look at her mother. Can you imagine? As an audience. She was so starved.
Mm.
And over time, I helped her. And she got married to a chap from Long Benton who's a great expert on the Beatles and so on. She got a job. She got a disabled car. So now that we have a disabled show, I will bring her. And my crowning glory was, since you talked about who was your mother, and I said to her, let's do something. I took her picture, this girl's picture of herself holding a clock in her hand, removed the clock by photoshopping, and put the baby, her as a baby in her own hand. And she still keeps that picture. Because it's a reminder, some of us are blessed to have parents, some of us are blessed to not have such awful parents. Mm-hmm. All this nonsense of all mothers and fathers are good is not right.
It is not
Come and talk to me. There are parents who are awful. There are fathers who abuse their daughters. There are mothers who beat up their daughters. There are mothers who tart their daughters for sex, for money.
Yeah.
I've seen all this from my own patients. So don't give me any nonsense about what's written in the books. I'm telling you as it is. So, and then there are mothers who are more subtle. So there's an Indian mother and daughter came in, and the daughter was calculating, and the mother says, I didn't have calculators in my time. I said, are you jealous? Mm-hmm. It's for us to learn from the children, not the children to learn from. I mean, okay, some things children need. But what's made you such a confident person? Is your spiritual beliefs and there is a God inside me? Or
definitely. I mean, I think it was because my mother told us I was so stupid and she almost destroyed us, and you begin to believe that you're something that you're not. But I think
your mother convinced you were a shitbag?
Yes, she did. Yeah, she just said I was a no good, I was a nobody. And I really felt I was a nobody, and I believed I was a nobody.
Children believe their parents.
I believed every word that she'd said, and she destroyed my confidence, and she destroyed everything. I thought everybody was looking at us and thought I was a crap and nobody and all this. But I think through life I've learned to believe in myself. You know, if you don't have any belief, then you might as well just give up.
Well, Eleanor Roosevelt said, whether you believe you'll be successful or a failure, you're right.
You're right. You have to tell yourself. You've got to tell yourself you're somebody. You've got to actually begin to even love yourself, you know, and say you are somebody and you're going to make something of yourself and believe in yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's what I had to do, and say, you know, there's nothing in this world that you can't do. If you say to yourself you can't do it, then you won't do it.
Of course. Then you won't even start.
You won't.
And that's where the cards metaphor comes in as well. If you've got a stand of your cards in front of you, it doesn't matter what they are. If you don't believe that you can win the game of those, you wrap them in.
Yes.
And you
just throw the cards in.
Throw the cards in. And that's what you can do in life. You throw the cards in and you commit suicide or whatever it might be. Or you say, I'm going to make the best of these cards. Mm-hmm. And I may not be successful this particular time, but I've now got the attitude to look and learn and try to get better when the next deck I have.
There's something crackling.
Yes, there is. I don't know what it is. I mean,
I think it's Spice FM.
I think it's these...
there should be. It's that.
Headphones, okay.
I think I've achieved more in life not being able to see than I would have if I could have seen.
What was Steve be? Just another computer operator.
Yes.
But because of the wheelchair, he's thrown all that away and said, I'll be who I want to be.
Exactly. You can be anybody that you want to be. Mm-hmm. It's up to you.
You are the maker of your destiny.
Exactly.
Was it Napoleon who was showing his palm, or somebody, and there was a line missing, so he took a dagger and apparently made that line. Now, I'm sure that's not true because it's too good to be true. But these stories are true, isn't it? We can become who we become.
We can.
You remind me a little bit about myself for the last 6-7 years. I won't go into details. Listeners, I've heard it too often. I've had all the most awful things happen. Hasn't dented me at all. In fact, made me a stronger person. And I say to God, what's next? Come on.
Exactly.
Give me some trouble. Let's see what you can do.
Exactly.
Because there's no maker except ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, in NLP, they say you make your own reality in the sense that 3 people will see this conversation and they're from a different angle. And they take completely different things away. You know, it's like a diamond, isn't it? Life is like a diamond. Everyone has their own facet. So
I find I blamed God for everything in my life.
who is this guy? Where is he?
Yeah.
I think he lives in...
I believe in him now. It took me years to be able to find him.
But is this a different God from your childhood belief?
Yes, definitely, because I
So
believe...
what was your childhood God?
My childhood God, I don't know.
Had to be a bloke, of course.
Yeah, had to be a guy.
Couldn't be a woman.
No, had to be a guy, but, you know, because
Color, skin color?
I never, well, I obviously thought he was like kind of brownish.
Well,
Yeah.
Jesus was an Arab, you know.
Did he have a beard?
And he had a beard.
Yeah, he had a beard.
And a long dress.
Just like Jesus.
And a long dress, yes, like.
Bit like Zafar.
Yeah.
Zafar Bhatti, are you listening?
Yeah, but I thought he couldn't be real because, you know, if he loves you and you're supposed to protect you,
Why is he allowing me?
Why is he allowing me to live this crap life, and why is he allowing all
Did
these
you ever
horrible
feel
things
angry
to
with
have
your
me?
father for letting you go to Heaton?
Well, he didn't know we were away. My mum left him and he didn't even know where we were at all, you know.
Oh.
So that was really sad, and I always wanted to find him, you know.
Have you met him?
And I always wanted to believe in God as well.
Have you met him?
I met him later on in life. I went to search for him, and I ended up finding him, unknowns to my mum.
Wow.
And he died in my arms. I brought him home here. It was just something I felt I had to do.
Wow.
I was in my 30s.
So seek and thou shalt find.
Yeah.
You found Father and you found God.
Yes, and I found God as well.
You just have to have a very strong desire and belief, isn't it? It's all about belief.
Yes, it's all about belief.
Last night I was watching something that upset me. This lady who's an expert on stress says, if you believe that stress is going to kill you, it will kill you. And if you say stress is nothing, she's proven it. So I feel quite offended. I go around measuring people's stresses, but she says, if you believe stress won't do. You know, if you believe in shell shock, it'll get you. If you believe in the nerve gas in Iran, Iraq, wherever they got it from, it'll get you. If you believe in the credit crunch, it'll get you. If you believe in any damn thing, it'll get you.
I believe if when I've been in the depths of despair and I really didn't want to live and I wanted to die, I think you can allow yourself to die quite easily. But it was just things in my life felt that I had to carry on because later on in life, you know, Raymond was involved in a big car accident and was almost left dead and brain damaged. And I had a little boy at that time, and I didn't have God in my life then. And but a few years on, you know, I did. And I think it was him who was, you know, drove me on, and my children and my husband, because even when my mother was alive right till the day she died, she controlled me. She was a control freak. She couldn't see me happy. She couldn't see me get on with my life.
And that's the only parent you had, so you had to have some link with her.
You know, yes.
So why couldn't you dump your mother?
Do you know, it's dead funny. I would do anything for her. I loved her.
It's amazing. I've seen that the biggest abusers get the most love.
They did. Yeah, my other siblings, my other brothers and sisters, they walked over and treated her like muck, and yet she admired them.
My senior partner would give the staff, this year we've done very well, we'll give you 2% rise. Next year, you've done very well, we'll give you 3% rise. Excuse me, when I became the senior partner, I put them on the scale that the government recommended. And the staff who went up 25%, 18%, 19%. And you would think they'd be kissing my feet or other bits that you can't mention on radio. But they didn't. When I opened the surgery, none of them came, you know. I'm opening my own surgery and my staff never came.
Never.
So they're so used to being abused by the senior partner who's even getting that 2%, 3%, that I give them respect and they can't cope with it. So it's a bit like that, you know.
It is.
It's a bit of Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
You heard about Stockholm
you
syndrome?
mistrust, don't you?
Yes, there's something in it.
Yes.
One day, in front of 3 staff, I got one of these HP pads. You know, remember they came very early. They were not pads. They had, what do you call your day's routine on it, calendar and all that, when they first came. So I got one. I had a very nice phone by then, an orange with a opening top communicator with a keypad and all. So I said to this youngest member of staff in front of 3 other staff purposely that I think your daughter is studying for her final exam. Yes, this is yours. What do you want for it? I said, no, this is yours. I'm the boss in the practice. In the daytime, I'm giving a mother something for her child, which I don't need. Nobody picked it up for 3 days. She didn't. I asked the practice manager, what's the matter? No, she thinks there's something in it for you. I said, what? Like sex? So where's the sex in the mind of that girl? I'm giving her as a loving uncle, father figure. I live with my wife next door. I'm giving it in broad daylight in front of the staff. But so sometimes the thief is more of a policeman, or the police is more of a thief. People take on these roles for nothing. I mean, I see a little girl, I like to pinch her cheek because she's looking gorgeous. Oh, you can't touch her because it's pedophilia. Load of bollocks, man.
What a horrible world we live in,
Yes.
unfortunately, today.
I mean,
A sick world.
I went to Goa and there was this gorgeous, beautiful girl with sun shining behind her back. Her mother was behind her father. This is India, Goa. And I just touched her, and this girl who is from Newcastle, who happened to be with me and Mark, said, what are you doing? I said, pardon? Touching a girl. I said, you are a sex fiend. This girl doesn't know what I'm talking about. The mother doesn't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. So keep all that shite to Newcastle upon Tyne. She was from Newcastle anyway. But this is, we become so oversensitive to things. Good afternoon. Okay, just come and sit down here. Something's crackling. I hope the listeners can't hear. Okay, okay. Since you're in the conversation, do join in. Welcome.
About 10 minutes ago.
Okay, good. There's some people who
Very nice.
who listen to what the conversation is. You can have one earpiece. We look like boyfriend girlfriend, aren't we?
I'm saying nothing.
Since March this year, it's legal.
Not only legal, you have to be gay. Otherwise, you'll be kicked out of UK now.
Well, that was a joke which said that a man was leaving the UK and the guy coming in was wearing a turban and said, look, what are you coming in here for? So I'm going to work hard, make a lot of money, live a good life and send some money back home. So I said, why are you leaving the country? He said about 25 years ago, if you were gay, you looked down upon. Now it's regular. I'm leaving before it's made compulsory.
Okay, thank you for taking the topic completely away from Christine. Rising from the ashes.
I didn't know the last bit that you just told me, but when I heard the radio, I said, what a horrible, lovely world we live in, because we still enjoy some of it.
Well,
Until we're there,
I keep reminding you. I keep reminding you of the lotus in India.
Yeah.
Pankaj, the lotus. Pank means dirt. Aj means to be born of. The lotus flower is called born out of muck. So muck means what? Pain in life. You've had all the muck you could have, man, and you've had enough. And you said, I'm not bothered to suffer. I can throw any shit at you, but it won't stick because you're Mrs. Teflon. Isn't that what it is?
Yes, more or less.
Yeah. Nothing bothers you.
No.
It's just water off a duck's back.
Well, that's great.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, I mean...
you've been through troubles, but it's nothing compared to what...
A lot of it, but Doc mentioned, about stress. If you believe in stress, stress will kill you.
Yes.
But
if you believe stress will kill you, it will kill you. If you don't believe it might hurt you a little bit.
But if you don't believe in it at all, will you live forever?
No.
well.
No. I won't live forever, but I'll die happy. Not miserable and depressed and I'm feeling bad. I mean, I have no illness. I take no tablets.
But then again, I believe in what Doc believes in. We don't live in yesteryear or 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago. We live now and the future.
Well,
otherwise, why would a Pakistani and an Indian be sitting in Newcastle within 6 inches of each other when the prime ministers don't even talk to each other?
Well, this is the thing that was on the radio this morning, talking about this new funding that's coming into Newcastle University with the Institute of Ageing and Health. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I heard
20 million quid. And people are still getting hung up with the retirement age and all that, pensions and stuff
But the
like
retirement
that.
age
But the thing
is fake,
is that when you used to retire at 65, you weren't meant to live long. You weren't meant to live another 5 years probably.
Yeah.
Now, because of all the developments in health,
are
you
refusing
now
to
go
die.
to 90 odd is not uncommon.
Yes.
So if you work for another 10 years and you enjoy work, you've got to enjoy
I think
work.
retirement age should be 70 for both sexes.
Well,
Otherwise the country will collapse.
I'll disagree with you totally.
Come on.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
There are less and less jobs out there.
Yes.
We have a younger generation that are fighting for jobs
Right.
and looking for jobs.
And you will let old buggers
And
go.
if you extend the retirement age, then you're going to have fewer jobs available.
Okay.
So what is the younger...
Let's take that argument further. So there's fewer jobs and we don't want all the old codgers to be carrying on and on and on. there's a credit crunch. Jobs are going abroad because English people are becoming lazy. Polish people are coming in. Irish people came in. Indian people came. Pakistani people came in. Jews came in. What else? Romanians came in. They keep coming and do it cheaply. So what happens to the nice old Englishman? Will he die? Or
Well,
what
they're
happens?
sad at the moment because they
What will happen?
know the influx.
And jobs are going out, you know, because electronics. The world is becoming one world.
What you're finding, and I mean, I do work in schools the same as you, Doc. And when you start talking to kids at schools, especially kids that aren't going to further education, it's a case of, what's the point?
Why bother?
What is the point?
I won't get a job anyway.
I won't get a job anyway, so what is the point? Why should I be out there? There are no jobs to be had, and it's a case of what we need to be doing is, I think, educating the older community that there's life after work. And a lot of people believe that once
There's
you leave
also
work,
life after 12:30. Guess what's coming? Look behind you. Come in. Just put it this side. It says no food. We don't care. Just put it there. Thank you very much.
I know where you're coming from, Michael.
One over there and one on this side, please.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Just to keep us
Much
going.
obliged.
Thank you very kindly.
Thank you.
We should have you on air very soon.
These are good chips.
Yeah, you should.
Lovely.
Rick was giving us a very good.
You see them?
Yeah. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
So
what do we do about jobs?
to be perfectly honest, I think we need to, my point of view, is to educate the older society that there is life after work. There's plenty of stuff to be doing out there. Whether it is doing what, I mean, I retired 15 years ago from the police. Since then, I've run 2 companies. I work for myself, and I get out there and I do bits and pieces, and I enjoy it.
When's the last time you did paid work? How many years ago?
14 years ago.
I did it.
Well, I drove a taxi and bits and pieces.
No, but that was not. I won't call that paid work. You're still an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Driving a taxi, you're running your own business.
Yeah.
Okay. The last time I did for this daft General Medical Council and NHS stupid idiots was 4 years ago. Christine, have you ever done a paid job? 9 to 5. Somebody else telling you.
Only when I was 22, I had my first job. Well, my first job was when I was 16 before I lost my sight. But I went back to work when I was 22 as a divan and mattress maker. Yeah, so I worked, like 8 o'clock till 5 then.
Okay.
Was that Palatine Products?
That was Palatine, yeah.
Wow.
Palatine,
Yes.
I was the first woman divan maker ever. So it made open doors.
Wow, you do some very first
You're a
ones.
pioneer.
Okay. Mick was the first job, last paid job, 9 to 5-ish.
Mine.
Yes, Mick.
I worked as a manager for E.ON, Gas and Electric. That was...
So after retiring from the police?
I set up my own company, and then E.ON came looking to me, they wanted a manager, and I went on board as a manager, and I lasted 3.5 years, and I resigned.
Okay.
Couldn't work there.
Steve?
Where I was the employee was I worked for Northern Rock up till 2006, just before the crisis.
And we know what happened to them.
Well, I left them in good hands. I don't know who cocked it up and I left, but
Well, we won't say much.
I left them believing I had lots of shares to look after me when I started my own business, which didn't last very long. So
You got out while the going was
So
good.
really, we are talking about entrepreneurship, isn't it?
It is.
We are all not working for somebody else. We plow our own furrow. We make our own mistakes.
people have to realise they've got value. And I think that's the thing when you get into this. Whether it's, a lot of people now say, for example, are redundant. In their 50s, say, and they've got a decent pension coming out of that.
Yeah.
From the work. Some people have worked there for 25, 30 years, whatever. So they've got a good work pension. We get a lot of that in the public sector going on at the moment.
You're talking about the state pension or the private one?
The private work pension.
Okay.
So they're coming out with they might get a redundancy lump, or they might get they take the pension early. State pension is topping it up, I think. You're not going to get that at 65, 70, getting whatever the number that is. But I don't think your main living is going to come out of state pension.
Yeah.
So you've got a work pension. The thing is that what people don't realise, I think, when they've been stuck in a working environment where you've been the employee, is what skills you've got. And I think this is where there's more work got to be done by people mentoring people,
To
perhaps
realise
to
what
get
other
them to
skills they
realise
may
what
have.
value they've got,
Yes.
because they can do the kind of stuff that Mick's doing. They can teach kids to do things and get people to respect values again. Nick, get the streets cleaned. You know, I was driving past, somebody chucked a McDonald's carton out the window.
Yeah.
Why the hell is somebody doing that? You know, and the person doing that doesn't realise that somebody work for the council probably is going to have to pick that up. Yeah. Somebody's got to pay the wages of that person for the council.
Yeah, they're creating work.
So that doesn't need to be done. You've got to do that.
The
and then
same
you turn
person
around.
may be telling their teenage son, clean your room up.
Yes.
But outside on the street, they're doing the teenage stuff.
Yes. So that I think there's a lot of education needed in lots of things. And you know, when we're talking about education-related disability, people understanding disability, having it.
How are we going to deliver the education? Because we already have something like 2 million people from the new Europe, which was part of the Iron Curtain, never colonies of the British Empire, so less of them speak English, less of them have the ability to learn English quickly, and
Or the desire to learn English.
or the desire to learn English. And presently, David Cameron has advised us, as per News 24 on the radio and whatever, and that for the first 4 years, the people who are coming in, they won't get benefits, this, that, and the other, which means they're going to be driven underground at £3 an hour, £2 an hour, whatever. But the ones who have come before possibly might qualify. The area south of West Road and in between Conticum Road is, I call it Czech Republic. But you've got to go through Glebe Road and see how much rubbish is lying on the side. It's unbelievable. And when I see it, I literally cry, you know, because I've always been faithful to the Keep Britain Tidy campaign wherever I've been.
Keep wherever you live.
Oh, yeah,
tidy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up just off Armstrong Road. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
And in actual fact, the street where I lived is the only street that's left. Everything else has been demolished.
Yes, yes.
And it was a community. We all looked after each other, and
You knew each other, you respected each other, you take the letter from the postman, that kind of, yeah.
But what you tend to get now is you get these little enclaves where people are afraid to
Mix with each other.
Mix with each other. They just want to live together, and there's no integration.
Isolated. So they're neighbors, but isolated from each other.
And it's sad because they have so much to give. We have so much that we can learn off them, and they've got so much that they can learn off us. And it's just not promoted. It isn't capitalized on, if you like. And it's important that if people are moving into this country, that they accept our values, we accept their values, and we actually learn
from each other to reach out.
Yes, and to live together. It's got to be done. There's no such thing, I think, now as Great Britain. You've just got Europe. It's just a big state, and
then the world.
Yeah.
I think things like what we're doing now in Spice FM on the other programs is contributing to the education process, because you've got a mix of listeners, then you've got a broad range of types of program on, and I think
you've got Geordies on one side and India and Pakistan on the other side.
Not only
what do you think about
we're all trying to.
I'm a good Hindu and he's a good Muslim.
Yes, and I think the majority would like to integrate.
By integrate, we don't mean lose yourself, you know.
No, of course not. No,
If you leave the rituals behind, there's God in the church. And I'm very happy to go to the church and all the months.
Well, we're going to go and play table tennis in a mosque, in a few weeks' time.
And it doesn't have to be a ping pong ball made in Pakistan.
Christine's coming to play table tennis. We'll have to go on to this bit.
Will you play with Chinese balls?
As long as the Chinaman's not still wearing them.
Doesn't mind.
Where this fellow says, does your dog bite? And the fellow said, no, and the dog bit him. So the fellow said, you said your dog doesn't bite. He said, this is not my dog.
You know, can I just go back to the speakers last night, the Speakers Club? There was one of the topics was, do you like dogs or cats? And if I'd had that topic, I said, it depends how you cook them.
Hot dogs are better than hot cats. But you know, that hot dogs we say so easily. In Hindi, we can't say garam kutta.
No, can't.
And then the dead cats. Do you know what dead cats are? The fluffy thing you put over microphones to reduce wind noise.
All right, yes.
They're called dead cats.
All right.
So I'd say I love dead. I mean, you know, that's what the Speakers Club is. You can take the topic anywhere.
Well, you can. It's interesting how you can bridge from one thing to another. I mean, Peter did a good example of that last night, where he took us down the route of this micro telescope and how it can see the fusion of an atom. And unfortunately, the topic you've given me, I can't see down that telescope, so I'm not going to talk about
seriously.
it.
I mean, all you need is a coat or a white coat and you look like a professor, isn't it?
That's it.
Slim, tall, talking very seriously,
yeah.
and suddenly you realize he's cracking a joke at us. I mean, but I think the ability to speak with different cultures, different people, different religions, different habits, different biases, and reach to them is no different from being there. Like you say, you disagree with me. Normally, I would ask, who the hell does he think he is? Like, it's my show? But in the Speakers Club, you get so used to people
There should be a button on there, the press to stop them speaking.
being spiced, that button is broken. By the way, we're trying an outside broadcast with Excelsior Academy.
Oh, great.
On Saturday after the show or before the show, it doesn't matter. So we do very interesting things. On Saturday, a lady is coming who's been a sex therapist for 25 years, a white English lady.
I'm still going to match. You're not going to tempt me with a sex therapist.
And an Indian lady, and an Indian lady who's not a sex therapist. And I'm just going to put them together and see what happens.
And then get it to come in next Thursday. It is a woman, isn't it? Sex therapist. A sex therapist. I should go to a speaker's club.
Well, you could end up at the Squeakers Club.
No, but speakers doesn't mean a Bose speaker or a tweeter or a woofer. Speakers Club means real human talking. But I think, you know, it's about the range of topic. You get well informed. I get a lot of material from TED Talks for here.
Yes.
It gives me new ideas because I'm a visual. I'm also getting under this section. Visual auditory thing.
The thought of the sex therapist, you see, with those.
No, I also learn by touchy-feely. Can you take your hands off my knee?
That's what I always say. That's what I always say. What you can't see, you've got to feel. So I'm okay.
Well, David Blunkett did our remake.
He did, yeah.
How did he score, you know? I really wonder.
Oh, he's a smart guy, you know. He's all the...
Should we go for some braille lessons from him?
Well, it's like Gok Wan, isn't it? Gok Wan gets away with doing Gok Wan.
Who's that?
He's that guy that does the fashion. He's gay. But he does the fashion and he gets the ladies and says, "Gives if you feel of your tits, girlfriend," and because you think he's gay, it's safe.
You can't say tits on this show.
I didn't say that. Oh, no, did
Not because there's a lady present.
You see what's happened? You mentioned sex, and
I think he did. He's gone. But that's on the BBC. That's on the BBC.
Call my passport because I write only one name or driving license plate. I'll show you on my phone. It says XXX Anand. That's all what men think about.
That's right, yeah.
Wasn't there an advert like that? XXX. That's all what men think about. Why are we so obsessed with sex?
The question's to you.
Sorry.
He's looking at you.
or else you could be depressed.
I can answer that question.
Please do.
If it wasn't for it, we wouldn't be here.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
That's not the answer you
That's
would
a
expect,
cop-out.
but that's my answer. Your turn. It's strange, isn't it?
Why is it never enough?
It's got to be behind the scenes somewhere, isn't it? In your
That's
brain.
a symptom. That's what I'm going to ask the sex therapist on Saturday. Why is there so much craving for sex in the West when it's all available? Why is there so much differential sex? I can't call it bad or good or anything. It's gay. I'll be murdered and slaughtered. Why do people go for children?
Yeah.
And why don't they go for animals?
Well, they do. They do.
Sorry, can I change the topic? Yes.
Let's come back to the dogs and cats.
Okay.
And the donkeys.
Hi, Alan.
Alan, meet another PC. You must know each other.
Hello, Mr. Curry. How are you doing?
Do you know each other?
Of course we do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Years gone by.
Years gone by.
Work together.
Yep.
You worked
We
before.
worked together, yes.
Well,
Alan was at the...
it's the word work he's trouble with. Well, we're at the city as well.
Yes, and when I used to work, he used to sit in the office.
2 o'clock upstairs.
At 2 o'clock, I'll be upstairs.
Right.
Like a proper policeman, 2 o'clock upstairs.
It's dragging us along.
Is he?
I'm happy to come. I don't know about
Absolutely, it'd be great.
To put in their aspect of if they were employers, what would they say on
Well,
this and that?
we're doing that this
And
week.
they're Speakers Club people, so they are.
Excellent, because it's about exposing the students to different life experiences.
Yes.
We've tried to be a little bit different in our teaching methods. I don't know why anyone would think the duck would be different. Right?
No, but Alan, for all his sins of being a very clever policeman, I'm trying very hard to say that. My mouth is twisting. He said, why don't you video them? Which I was shocked. I was amazed that Alan could think outside the uniform. But he also does
the video everything now in case they get done.
He does alcohol, he does internet
You
safety.
cannot tell a traffic warden where they can shove themselves now because they've got a camera attached to their jacket or their head or something like that.
As well.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's disgraceful.
It is. You cannot. When they say
No,
you're
no,
not
no,
going to
no,
give
no,
me a
no.
ticket for parking there, and that's even
So
with a blue,
Alan
that's even with a blue badge on.
Yeah, that's Alan Curry, with whom, I mean, let me tell you one tiny story, if I'm allowed to, about traffic wardens. I don't dislike them. I love you guys. Please don't give me a ticket. Upstairs in the green car park next to Eldon Gardens, right? I'm on the top floor. And I'm chatting up a traffic warden just because he was bored and I had 20 minutes before my session
It was a
started.
man?
A bloke, yes. I even talked to blokes, unlike you.
But you said you were chatting them up. That was the way. It was that
Chat up,
choice.
you mean having
It was that
sex?
choice.
Chatting-
Syed's just moved away from you there.
Okay. Okay, sir, you can come back and take your hand off my knee. So I had parked my car with one wheel on a white line. And the whole top floor was empty. I was the only one there. He talked about, I said, do you like your job, etc. Do you know what he did? The illegitimate fathered man, he went and gave me a ticket for parking on a white line. And there was nobody else there. And I was trying to be nice to him, say, how does it feel?
Get his
You know,
quarter up.
you know, I don't know. And once what happened was, though I parked electronically, I said, look, it's on my phone I parked. He said, I haven't got it. I said, don't you dare give me a ticket because it's on my phone. You're going to waste hours of my time. I'll take you personally to court. I've got your number here. I said, if there's a fault in your mechanism, it's not my fault. I'm showing you from my phone. I parked electronically. Why it hasn't reached you? So don't go give me this routine. I'll go to the civic center. I'm not a 90-year-old widow who's got all the time to waste at the civic center. I do everything electronically. If you do that, I'll take you personally to court. And he didn't. Because he could see that I had parked, you know. I said, look, I've done it. I can show you all my background and so on. So anyway, so those are my... But once there was a traffic warden passing my house. And Alan Keynes, my locksmith, was repairing the garage door. And I had parked my car in my own drive. And the traffic warden with a grumpy face, he was posting. I said, good morning, warden. Good morning. Am I allowed to park on my drive? He said, you're taking the mickey out of me. And he went on. And Alan Keynes says, you know, Doc, I applied for a traffic warden's job. I said, and? When I gave my birth certificate, it had the name of my father, so they kicked me out.
I've always wanted to be a traffic warden.
You can still try.
Well, the wouldn't let me do it. For some reason, I forget what it was. But
Can you be a traffic warden in a motorized wheelchair?
Well, I do it in this, but yes, probably motorised would be better. I get around a bit more.
Catch
then
more people.
You would catch more people, and you'd certainly stop the misuse of blue badge parking bays and stuff like that.
I parked myself on the pavement.
I noticed that. Yes, if I would have parked behind you and blocked you in if I'd not been in. But I got to be this one. Doc, can we move Christine on to the 2014, because I think she's got a fascinating bit of 2014 to tell us about that we get to talk about.
2014?
That's now.
Now, this year.
Not quarter past
I don't know
eight.
what he's talking
Not
about.
quarter past eight. This year.
2014 is 8:14 in the evening.
No, it's the year we're in
yes,
now.
Christine, yes.
God.
What does Christine do? I've heard about something called Emmanuel House. Is that where you live, like?
That's right, yeah, my home.
So what's special about your home that's different from mine?
Well, right, well,
She pays the
12
rent.
years, I'm actually a qualified alternative and complementary therapist.
Tell me more, because I love them.
Yeah, and I was, I had a calling, really. You know, I worked in the Queen Elizabeth, where you were, for 6 years as a voluntary therapist and in the hospices. But I just knew I had to do more, and I really felt called by God that I was to give, you know, to dedicate my whole life to the people of the North East and further afield. And little did I know then I was to transform my home into a holistic therapy centre for people who
Wonderful.
are terminally ill and those suffering with cancer. So 12 years ago, Emmanuel House was born. It was opened 12 years come January the 8th.
Wow.
And that's your own house, is it?
It's my own house,
Converted
yes.
for public
Yes,
benefit.
I put my life savings into it.
Wow.
I founded my own charity 12 years ago, which is Emmanuel House, meaning God is with us. And it's a great place. It's a
Emmanuel House means God's house. Really.
God, it means God
Emmanuel
is
is the
with
old
us.
biblical word for God.
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah, for God, yeah. And people can come along in time of need. They don't have to pay anything. I do all the therapies. They have lunch. They can come along and just offload. Come with their mums, their dads, their children, their grannies, whoever, to have therapy. But I think we have to remember, you know, a lot of people don't want to go to a day hospice because they sometimes feel this is where they're going to end up and maybe die. And
that's where they're going to die, so it's a place of death.
That's right. Where my place is very tranquil. They can come along and have fun, tell dirty jokes, have a beer.
Yeah, we're coming tomorrow. Dirty jokes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's what life's about.
Is being happy.
Life's about being happy, and whatever time I feel people have left to live, it's about getting out there.
But same for all of us. We're all dying. I mean, this is the biggest thing. Humans can't
That's
accept
right.
that they will die one day.
Yeah, yeah.
So the pharaohs go and bury themselves with their living wives.
Right.
People in Islam, you're not supposed to have an unmarked grave. You're supposed to have an unmarked grave. But everyone has a gravestone. Christians, of course, are allowed the gravestones. Hindus actually do it well. They burn the guys and just wash them off, and that's it. Because there's some truth in what I'm saying. And I'm very involved in death, by the way, because my own son committed suicide, my father died, and I've seen the difference. And I'm currently working with people who want to tell their story. Bessie Williams and I are videoing them. We videoed Bessie's mother herself. And we are developing an app so people can tell their story into a phone and collect them, make it into a DVD, and give it to the family. And you'll have very interesting things they might tell you that they didn't want to tell. I mean, you, by talking about the abuse you've had, you've done it so many times, so it's nothing big deal. But when Rob told his story,
a lot of courage, yes.
Rob Pugel, you know, you need courage, but once you're done, it's finished. Otherwise, you're hiding, you're spending so much energy hiding as if you're the guilty party. You're a victim.
Yeah. And this is a lot of these people. I haven't been in their situation, suffering with cancer, and they're in the depths of despair. Some of them have been told they've got 6 months to live.
Who tells them
whatever.
this?
You know,
How do they know?
And that's exactly, because I'll say to them, how does anybody know?
No.
The big guy upstairs knows how long we're here for. Nobody. I could go before you. I could walk out of here, go underneath the bus.
Yes.
But if we have, and we only, you know, life is about just living every minute.
Moment.
This moment in time.
And you remember we had Nina on a while ago.
I was going to mention Nina. After her, you can tell the whole story of Nina. I think that's very relevant.
And this is what I want to do, and I try to get them a different way of thinking and saying, listen, what do you want? What's your goals in life? I've been there in a different way, with a blanket over my head, sitting in the corner, wanting to die, but life is about this moment in time. And some of them have said, I wanted to go back to rock climbing, but he said, I'm going to die in 7 months. I wanted to see my children grow up. And
it's a death sentence.
It is a death sentence. And you know, I said, you can allow yourself to die, but I've known people who are terminal, have been given 6 months to live, and they've been here 7 years.
Tell us the Nina story.
Well, this is the Nina story.
We had it in studio.
We had Nina on a couple of months ago, didn't we? Nina was a friend of mine through the PSA, going back, and 2 years ago, just over, well, nearly 2.5 now.
And told to die in 6 months.
She said she had cancer everywhere, and they said 3 months.
Metastatic cancer all over the body.
All over.
3 months to go. And she said, saw this. You know, that they wasn't going to just accept the death sentence, which is exactly what you were talking about there. And she went and researched the alternatives, and it was alternative therapies. And she went to Germany and got toxins, you know, cleansing of the toxins. I don't know the full details of it, but the cleansing, and you start to eat the right things. And she came in, we got her to come up here and
she was here 2 hours, laugh a minute, happy,
and
just like you.
She was. This was 2 years after she'd been diagnosed, you know, with 3 months.
So we're going to a ghost.
And the week before she'd come, she'd had what was a radio or something, but the test that they did, it wasn't like an MRI. She had some sort of whatever it was that now tells you where the tumours are. All except one tumour had gone. In 2 years. And,
so, you know, your body has killer lymphocytes, it's got T killer cells, your body, and if you tell someone they're going to die, they kill their own cells which are going to fight. I mean, you know, in the police force, if you tell them that this will happen and you'll get burned to death, they might not get burned to death. And if you have the belief, you'll come out okay. And there's so many stories of a woman in Texas where her son got trapped under an Oldsmobile, and she just went and lifted the car and then collapsed in a heap. Well, she had a spinal fracture, but she believed she could lift it, and she did it, you know.
Yes, exactly.
So, Christine, in your, I know you do talks in charitable groups and other things, and other women's institutes, and lots more things, which is why Christine wanted to get involved in the speaking things. And
so she always goes to improve herself.
Are there stories of success that people, because it's telling the success stories, I think, of people that have been to your house, and there's lots of others, I'm sure, around the place, but have been to yours particularly, you know those stories, that can say, you know, I came here and I felt great as a result of whatever I did there, and I'm sure everybody's got a different story. And now I'm 2 years later, after I've been given 6 months, have you got stories like that?
I've got loads of stories, and that's when I do in my talks, not just about my life, but it's to say to people, you know, these people, some have been given 3 months. I remember one person ran out of the hospital screaming into me because she'd been given 3 months to live. I found out her number, I got in touch with her, and she came to me and she lived for about another 6 years or more. So, you know, I mean, it's absolutely shocking.
I can understand it. I mean, I went with my ex-wife when she was going through her cancer, and we went to see the consultant to get the very first results, and he sat down and he looked at her, and the look on his face was horrific, and he says, I suggest you put your house in order.
What is this
and
nonsense?
I said, so I says, what you're saying is that it's terminal. No, I didn't say that. I've never said it's terminal, but I suggest you put your house in order.
Yeah.
She left that consulting room
Feeling terrible.
with the thought, what's the point?
What's the point? Exactly.
There's no point in going on. There's no point in trying this. There's no point in trying that.
I hope some doctor is listening.
I have been told to put my house in order. So that's what he's done. And it took me 3 months
to undo
to talk
a 5-minute conversation.
And say, he's not
it's called a nocebo.
It's
you know, like placebo is to placate, to please. Nocebo is noxious dialogue.
Well, there's a lot who have came to me who they were just going to give up, and I've said, listen, you can't, and I'm going to help you. This is, I don't know how to do it. I've been given this, I've been given that, I'm terminal, I haven't got long. They were told to put their life in order. As a matter of fact, pretty straight away, you need to sort your funeral out, you need to do that. I mean, how dare anybody talk to somebody like that? They took all
I wish some patient took a doctor to court.
Yes. Took all the
and made it like a public thing. I really want someone. Okay, an offering to you. If any of these people who have been told they'll die but refuse to die are willing to be videoed, I'd happily video it professionally, free, and give it to them. So you can have stories on video and you can put it on the web. If they're willing to be exposed. I don't want to do it just because I'm not charging. I'll just film them as long as they're willing to tell the story to the world. So you can ask them.
Yes, I'll ask them, you know, because I just feel I've tried to tell them how to get out there, how to live their life, not to give up, because I nearly did. And life is what you make it, and you can survive and live, and this is what you're surviving for, your children, to see them to school, to see them from the infants to the junior. You've got to give them goals and everything. And a lot of them...
Well, even when an old lady is in hospital, the ones who have a budgie at home or a cat are more likely to come out of hospital quickly, get better quickly than somebody who's saving on the heating bills, pretending to be ill and just lying in hospital in an orthopedic bed number 19.
Because they've got a reason. They've got a reason to go out there and
even a budgie gives you a reason. Never mind a human being and your grandchildren and so on.
Yes.
I mean, isn't it?
Yeah. How do you cover the expenses of running costs of Emmanuel House?
Me, I do all my own funding. I don't ask nobody for nothing. I'm not a registered charity. I put all my life savings in. My money goes, and I don't want to be registered.
Really amazing.
Because a registered charity will, as long as I ran Gurukul for about 15 years, I never submitted accounts. I rang them up. I said, you can cancel me. I haven't got the time. I'm giving my house, my reputation. My wife and I are running day and night, carpet cleaning, insurance, heating, gas, and I pay for my own lessons. How the hell do you expect me to do? But this is what we do. I said, never mind what we do in England. I won't do it.
Yes, exactly.
Everywhere there's this pillar. I mean, you go to the Arts Council, they said, how many bums on the seats? I said, in India, they sing from their mouths. And they're heard in the ears. What are you talking about bums to me for? They downgrade everything so badly. And I think the Charity Commission is just a job.
It is. It is. I mean, it's not about the chiefs and the Indians and this, that and the other. People are dead by the time. I mean, I've got no boxes to tick. I've got no criteria to meet. If people are terminal with multiple sclerosis,
you do your best and that's
whatever it is, they can come in time of need. It's not about going to the day hospice and people going there to die. I've bought 3 holiday homes. People say, I don't know how you've done it. They're free of charge. It costs $7,500 a year to keep them running. 3 fabulous caravans. People don't have the money, and I survive.
So
and I get out there. I'm doing my fair on Saturday. I'm doing other fairs and everything.
Amazing.
And I'm a one-man band, and I've proved you can survive and you can do anything.
Very good. It's amazing.
And your autobiography is called Blind
Courage. And the money from... I'm now after a respite centre, a retreat place where people can come and stay. Because unfortunately, the system let many people down. People have got no family. They've got no friends. They've moved house. They've got nobody to care for them to make a cup of tea or a slice of bread.
It's the
when they come out of
bureaucracy that
hospital.
kills it, like you
And it's
said, how they run
bureaucracy
the
that
charities commission,
exactly. So they've come and stayed with me. I've had to take the mattress off the bed for them to sleep on the floor. They've slept on my
Just
settee.
normal things that anyone
Normal
would do,
things.
ordinary human beings would do.
Yeah. So now I'm after the place now, which my book will hopefully make the money, and my album, because I sing and play guitar. So I'll
What? You play guitar?
Yes, I put shows on.
Wow.
So it's to get the money in now for this respite place
Hats off to you, Christian.
that we need for the people.
You're really an amazing story of your own life.
That's not a guitar.
Well,
I'm
we
not
are-
doing it.
well, we can play together. We'll do some Indian song like Lal Meri Pat Rakhiyo Bala. We can do a song. He sings quite well. I'll play the flute. You play the guitar. So we got to
We'll
push
have
it
to
on.
rearrange it because I'll take leave of you, Christine and gentlemen.
Christine, you've got...
Okay,
got
we'll let...
We'll bring
sorry.
the guitar. We'll all be back
Right.
together
Yeah.
and have a go.
We'll have it...
Next Thursday, are you free? Next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
So
But I'm a one-man band. I don't know.
Oh, we're
what to
gonna...
do.
No, we're going to
We're gonna make music next Thursday.
Yeah. So I'll
So do I bring the triangle?
You see, so you see what one person can do. And
It's International Music Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got, Christian, you've got about 1 million people listening to this radio show. Isn't that what you told me, or was it 100?
There's 4 people listening.
What would you like
All of them are in the
people
studio.
that are listening and to do to help you? Because I guess you want more people to support what you're doing financially and lots of
Yeah.
other ways. What would you say to
What
people
I-
listening that you would like help from?
I would love, the more talks I get to go to and tell people about my life, then the more books I can sell. It's a bringing awareness to
So
people.
how can you buy your book then? Come on, tell
They
us.
can buy it off Amazon. The more books I sell, the more
it's
money
called
I'll make.
Blind
It's
Courage.
Blind Courage.
Blind Courage on Amazon. Blind
Yeah.
Courage on Amazon.
It's on Kindle, you can download it. It's on Smashwords. And if they want it from me, from Emmanuel House, I'm on. If they put Christine Deponio on Google, lots comes up about me.
So it's Christine spelled like Christine, and Deponio, which is not a common English name. It's spelled Christine is Christine, of course, and Deponio.
A lot will come up about me, yeah.
Ponio. But the pony isn't spelled like a little donkey.
No.
Okay,
And
Christine.
then my website, if they've got
It
my
must
website.
be, Deponio must mean friend of a donkey or something. And that means Joseph from the Bible.
All right.
Yeah, I'm being respectful here, You might not think
wasn't sure
so.
where you were going with this.
Me and respectful. What do you think? So Christine Deponio. Now nobody will forget your name because they'll think of that little donkey. Wasn't there a holy song called My Little Donkey?
Little donkey, little
Yes.
donkey.
Christmas stuff.
I used to
One,
go
why don't
around
you-
singing, oh, Deponio.
Ah!
I am on my ownio. Yeah.
Wow! I am Deponio. I am on my ownio.
Britain's Got Talent here. We
Old MacDonald had Deponio.
If you want
Yeah.
me, yo, I'll come to you, yo.
Oh, hey!
So if anybody want me to do talks, if they want to buy my book, because not that you're just supporting me, you're going to support many people who have got cancer. You're going to help me to get this retreat.
So all the money you earn, and obviously you need to pay your rent and get your hair done occasionally,
Yeah.
like today.
It's going to buy this place to
Okay.
people to come.
How much
and
is your
people
book
to
on
stay.
Amazon?
$9.99.
Okay.
$9.99.
But
It's
you don't have a hard copy of it here now?
No, I don't. No,
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But as I say, if they want me to come and put a show on, I'll come and put a show on. If they want to...
If they want to come on radio and pay £50 to you, I'm quite
Yes,
happy
if they
to.
want to send a check or anything, people to my
Yeah, we can do a
house.
sponsored show.
You know,
Seriously.
yes, sponsors, yes.
Why not? Yes. So you tell everyone that, shall you do the next one as her sponsored show?
Yes,
Why not?
next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next week,
Do it
is-
like Children in Need, where everybody has to pay a fiver to listen and stuff like that. Or if that's how I don't know how you do that sort of thing, but
Come in. Sorry, come and take a chair. Come, you'll enjoy this. In comes an old patient of mine, a very good friend. Do take a chair. You're sitting next to a lady who at the age of 7 was deprived of her father. Her mother took her away. And then her grandmother died. Then her stepfather raped her. Then her brothers groped her. Then she went blind. And she's sitting here running Emmanuel House. Look at this lady. She's blind. Her husband, he's around still? Or is he lost
Yes,
him?
yeah.
Yeah, he's blind as well.
He's blind and he's suffered
Look
brain
at that.
damage and
So Ranjana, what do you think of this?
like your chewing gum on here, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. So Ranjana, nice to have you in the studio. When are you coming to the studio? And we are going to do a sing song. She says, I'm Deponio. I'll sing to anyone you. And I saw your face. I haven't seen you for ages. How are you doing?
I am speechless.
No, you're Ranjana. Ranjana is an amazing lady herself. She can speak perfect Hindi. She married an Indian guy, didn't work out. But her daughter is making the same mistake, marrying an Indian guy, isn't it? Gaurav, who's a young lad here. I'm only joking. They're all my patients. I know them very, very well. So we want, come and talk about what you do as well. I mean,
well, I'm probably the world's only Indo-Irish neonatal nurse. That's how I introduce myself.
Indo-Irish neonatal nurse. Indo-Irish neonatal. E-I-E-O. Yes, that's
P-O-N-O.
P&O is a shipping company.
Indi-Irish.
Indo-Irish.
Indo-Irish.
I have an Irish mother and an Indian father. I was born in India and raised in India.
Can you hear the sing-song tone of an Indian?
Yes.
And she's been living in Newcastle how long now?
10 years.
And she still speaks with that Indian accent, that sweet, roly-poly, a bit like Welsh. I'm born in Bombay, Peter Sellers. and she speaks perfect Hindi. Kuch Hindi mein suna de.
Oh dear.
No, kuch Hindi bole na.
I think I am bashful. I'll have to think.
आप मेरे से बातें करें हिंदी में. आप कैसी हैं?
बिल्कुल ठीक.
आप अंग्रेजी तो फटाफट बोलती है. हिंदी कहाँ सीखा आपने?
India में, भारत में.
Does she sound like an English person? Irish person?
She speaks
beautifully.
She speaks beautiful English when she speaks it. She speaks better English than me.
But that's our reach. You don't even speak English. You speak Geordie like.
We speak Geordie.
Well, don't forget, schools in India tend to be, at least used to be when I was in school, run by missionaries. So as a result,
They were very particular about
and
it.
grammar was drilled into us.
We say I here.
She speaks the Queen's English.
Yes.
Where I man?
Though India, I believe, is not top of the league anymore. I believe Malaysia has taken over.
In what?
In speaking the Queen's English.
We speak the Indian English.
I know,
We speak it with our own twang.
We've got so many students going to America now, coming back with American colloquialism.
Oh, right. So
that we don't speak that.
Yes.
The old Queen.
We'll do a show.
But I digress. I find it inspirational when a woman overcomes everything and
Yeah.
comes forward.
Well, you're one of them.
Well, life happens.
Her daughter was with her ex-husband and now lives with her. And both are, I don't know how they cope with it.
I call it motherhood in abstentia. I left India in 1992 to start studying and create a life for myself. And I chose, or between my husband and myself, we decided that because we couldn't get along, didn't mean we didn't have parental responsibility. So he brought my daughter up. And
in India, in Bangalore.
And not with everybody assumes in India that everything is a joint family and
No, joint family is where you could murder each other.
He lived on his own, so he was the proverbial single dad with a little child, and I was training in Germany at the time, and I had itchy feet and travelled the world, but we had a good divorce. We had a better divorce than we had a marriage.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Wow.
Still hope
wow.
Still hope yet?
But that's a unique situation. I've met very few people like us.
Who have a better divorce than marriage.
I think Gwyneth Paltrow, I didn't have the terminology then, she put it very eloquently that she and her husband have uncoupled but co-parenting.
And if we could uncouple and co-parent.
If we could be so civilized, we would have less hurt in the world.
But you don't overcome the stress of your first marriage, you'll take it to the second one. I've seen a lot of people have a quick divorce straight from court into church, and they haven't sorted the issues out.
Yeah.
They're just good at covering it up better. And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. But we're not talking about me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you want to say, come this side.
Might I go on? Because I'm actually applying for a visa to go to India to my daughter's wedding.
Oh, so where are you applying? How are you applying? I'll give you the answer immediately if you tell me how. Are you going to Birmingham?
No.
Are you going to Sanam Travels?
Yes.
Good, that's it. Because I had an English nurse who phoned me and said, are you Indian? I said, I'm married. She said, no, my husband wants to go to India in 2 weeks' time and he has been called to Birmingham. I said, he'll never make it because you have to type things on the computer. And they're like Indian officials. What do you want this for? Like Bada Babu, like English bureaucracy run crazy. But you go to Sanam, 180 pounds or something. 3 days later, he gets his visa. And Sanam is from Pakistan, let me tell you. But he's such a good travel agent with such a strong reputation. So if you're wanting to go to India, don't go to Birmingham for a visa. It's hard work. You waste a whole day and you might not get it. Sanam Travels. And Sanam does a very good job. Well done. I'm glad to hear that answer. It's done. It's a done deal.
बहुत शुक्रिया.
Dhanyavad, namaste, adab, sat sri akal. So that is Ranjana Gaur. Thank you for passing by. We leave no stones unturned, you know. Any good person passing by, we catch them. So it's advantage having a glass window.
Look, can I say it is thanks to Spice FM that my daughter met her young man.
There you are.
There you go.
So there's chance for...
It's a chance for us all.
Us two particularly. These two are already done. Okay. Yeah. So come and enlighten our show with your wonderful ideas.
Oh, we'll talk, because there's so much I want to talk about.
Yeah, come on a show. I'll phone you. Are you free this evening? I'm doing a health thing here at 7. If you're free, come. If you're not free, come. 7 o'clock in the Beacon. Thake hue ho. She got the okay, fine. But I'll just text you so you have my new number. You're privileged to have it. I don't give it on air anymore. I become less narcissistic. Otherwise, I'm so keen for the whole world to know. Cheerio now, cheerio now, cheerio now.
Cheers.
So,
Bye.
this is what I like about Spice, that it's very come in, have a chat and go, come and go. And then, now you two got to know each other. If she can do something for you, she will. She raised a lot of money for Ashington Hospital when she was working as a nurse there. She's a canny, powerful lady, you know. She's quiet, and she's the first what?
Indo-Irish
neonatal nurse.
Neonatal.
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 Uh-huh.
That does not mean.
Neonatal means when the babies are just born.
All right.
When they're in the maximum danger.
I knew birth from somewhere was involved with the natal business, but I didn't know what neo meant.
Neo means new.
New.
Oh, right.
The brain, the new cortex. Neocortex. Yeah, I suppose Newcastle is neocastle.
But that's not midwife. It's after midwife, is it?
The midwife gives the birth, and then just immediately after is the neonatal part.
All right.
Because when the baby is at maximum danger, because it's come from a very safe environment to a very risky environment called the world.
You learn something in this program.
You
as
do
well,
and all. Learn something every day.
I was a doctor, you know. And I just masked it behind my Geordie accent and rude comments. But you know, all four of us have the courage to be different.
Yeah.
We don't just play golf or walk a dog or just send Christmas cards. You know, I don't send Christmas cards at all. I think it's just a chore. How many Christmas cards will you send this year?
How many am I sending? Or how many are my wife sending to my friends? I don't know. We'll have a list, right?
How many?
We'll have a list.
How many?
On a spreadsheet.
How many?
30-ish.
Is that all you know?
No, if you don't send us one, you get struck off for the next year.
From what? For another exchange list?
Well, we send you one, and you don't send us one.
Please don't send me one because
I'm not going to send you one. No.
I don't reply.
We'll go back lots of years on some people are on the list, and you never see them. I mean, there's a lady, and in some ways it's. I was just talking with Judith, my wife, last night about it. And if you sever the link, I mean, if this woman came in here now, and I forgot her name even, but if she came in here now, I wouldn't know what she looked like. But I met her on holiday in 1980. And her husband's died, and we still send a card to each other every year. Now, that's strange, isn't it? But in some ways, I feel a bond. You know,
No. If you have a bond, that's different. Do you ever phone her?
No, I don't know whether. I don't
Do
know
you ever communicate on WhatsApp,
I know where she
Twitter?
lives because I send her the thing.
No, any Twitter?
No.
So you have no contact with her?
No.
In 1981, I was in a detectives college in Wakefield, and I met a lad from Greater Manchester. And since that day time, we maybe contact each other twice a year. Just a quick phone call. How are you doing? Is everything all right? I know for a fact if I turned up at his door now,
Wouldn't know you.
No.
You wouldn't know you.
Oh, yeah.
Would you believe it? There is a phone call. Hello, caller. Who's that, please?
Hi, Doc. I just left you about 15 years ago. Are you there?
Yes. And so you're back on again like a bad penny. But go.
I'm very excited about Christine DEPONIO's whole thing about this charitable. I think we should set up a gathering again, 5 of us, and do a fund collecting for her as well.
Well, next Thursday, she's coming here with a guitar and will make a lot of noise and collect any pound notes starting from the studio itself. So next Thursday, done.
Right. Okay. So I'll fix for next Thursday, all right?
So next Thursday you're going to be here, and I'll put this up saying next Thursday we have this show as well, and it's collecting for Emmanuel House for Christine DEPONIO.
And Emmanuel House is close to Emmanuel College as well.
That's where his daughters study. So
Yeah.
Emmanuel House in Lovely Hill, like. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll catch up again next Thursday, and thanks very much. I'm still listening to the program as I'm driving. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Now that's what friends are for. Somebody who picks up an idea and runs with it.
Anand, can I just say, when you mentioned that word Twitter, I'm now on Twitter, and if people want to follow me on Twitter...
What's your Twitter handle?
Twitter. Do you know? I haven't a clue. I don't know. I don't run it. It's
Somebody else, okay.
Somebody else runs it.
Okay.
So, and Facebook as well. You know, somebody else runs it. I'm not computer friendly.
No, but fine, whatever you can do. I mean,
Steve.
Do you know my Twitter handle?
I'm going to
do you
find
know
Oh.
it?
I didn't even know what you meant. I didn't know I had a Twitter handle.
I know these words. I used to be on...
Is handle the right word?
Yeah.
It is, yes, it's your handle.
I just use these words. I'm quite clever, you know. I'm very well informed. I just pretend to be a little stupid doctor, but... And because I want to break everyone's image of the doctor. Many people are scared of the doctor. I say, look, your taxes pay for his wage. Why should he be scared?
Right, the Twitter is Emmanuel House.
E-M-A...
E-double-M.
In double M, there you go. Sorry.
A-N.
Emmanuel. E-M-M-A. Emma, right? Emma.
Emma.
And then Nuel.
N-U-E-L.
House. As in house.
House, as in house.
One word.
Yes.
Huh.
And N-E on the end.
Northeast.
Northeast on the end.
So it's a hashtag. It's also called a hashtag, by the way.
It's at sign.
At sign, ampersand, yeah. At Emmanuel House, N-E. N-E, not A-N-Y, but N-E.
N-E, yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. So yeah, so thanks to the idea. And you got the phone number of Bhatti, who's ignoring us today, so we're getting quite annoyed today.
No, there's 443 followers at the moment, so let's have that 1,000 before next week, okay?
Okay.
443
So
followers.
at Emmanuel House, N-E.
Yeah.
Okay, so that should be great fun, and I hope we reach somewhere very far with it. And let's raise some money for you. I mean, I started a thing called Spice Trust. I raised £5,840, and it took a long time. Something's crackling away. I hope it's not going
Worse,
to.
isn't it?
It's getting worse since you pushed that.
Okay, that's it.
Engineer.
Yes. Engineer, engine there. E-I-E-I-O. T-A-P-I-N-O. Deponio.
Oh, Deponio.
Yo, oh, Deponio. Oh, bring back, oh, bring back Deponio to me. Deponio lies over the Tyne River. Deponio lies in Gateshead.
I'm not available next week.
No, we'll have fun, and we'll invite anyone who wants to come and sing, a sponsored sing, but you have to pay a $5 to come on the microphone.
Right.
Anyone in the Northeast is welcome to Spice next week between 12 and 2. One song not lasting more than 2 minutes. If it's more than 2 minutes, we'll take £10 of you. So every 2 minutes, it's a $5.
It's the spice factor.
It's a spice factor. Ooh. But I can't do it, because I've got some talent, the guy who runs it, what's his name?
Simon Cowell.
Is he coming?
I don't like him,
Joe, you don't say that. He might come along.
Make him along.
Might come along. Make it Christian.
I would love to meet him.
I'd love to meet him and say, sing.
I would love to meet him.
Sing. You talk so much about it. Do it.
Well,
Yesterday on TED Talk, when I went home, there's this girl, Australian girl. She sings beautifully and piano and everything. And that just came up last night. But when she stutters, stammers, and she's very funny. She says, the worst thing for me is when I talk, I avoid the ST words like station, stutter. I avoid those words because she goes stutter. She gets I get stuck. She did that purposely to make us laugh. And then she said the worst scenario for me is meeting a fellow stutterer because he says something. What's your name? And I say stir. And she had the whole hall laughing. But behind it was the reality that she purposely sings songs when the ST words are not there. She has to avoid them. She has to trip over them because nobody's been able to help break that connection in her brain, like the King's Speech. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very painful watching it.
We have a guy in A1 Speakers called Alan Beatty who speaks with a stammer. And he's done fantastic. He's been in the club 2 years. Mick knows him longer than I did, but he did it. His 10th speech, so he's now a competent communicator on Monday just gone, and it was absolutely fantastic that he explained how he developed and some of the techniques.
Well, he speaks on the outward breath. So he takes his deep breath and then he speaks on the outward breath. Now, it's interesting, when he gets a bit stressed, he forgets. And
he starts speaking with it like you and me.
That really takes over. But when he takes that breath and speaks on the outward breath, it's tremendous.
Do you know what happens with the outward breath? When you take a breath in, every single breath that you breathe, your heart speeds up a little bit. When you go, when we go, so when we go home, you go, unless we meet our wives. You relax.
Is that why when I was learning to breathe recently, again, they said breathing through your nose
but
and then out through your mouth.
That's detail.
Slowly.
That's detail. You can go and do yoga, then you breathe from left nostril right. Those are very fine details, and there's nothing wrong with them. But most people can't even breathe. Never mind diaphragmatic breathing. Okay. So if you breathe in like, we breathe like. So we breathe very long, so we get excited, our heart speeds up, and very quickly we breathe out. So the adrenaline to acetylcholine balance gets broken up. Can you spell acetylcholine?
No.
Okay. Adrenaline is the hormone of excitement and angst.
The flight.
Fight and flight thing.
All right, yes.
But what is the hormone that, and if you take adrenaline enough for 15 minutes, you start secreting cortisol, which gives you blindness, thick skin, diabetes, early death. If you have AIDS, it spreads faster and so on. So it's the killer hormone, cortisol. It survives you if you were in a war. You need it. We're not sitting in the studio in Newcastle Lake. But the other thing is called acetylcholine. When you go, when you're peaceful, when you're listening to music, when you have an orgasm, when you laugh at a joke, when you're secreting serotonin. Not when you win a lottery, because you're still in adrenaline. Yeah, I won the lottery. Instead of being calm, cool, collected, you get excited. So when you breathe out, you secrete acetylcholine. And if you secrete acetylcholine long enough, you secrete DHEA, dehydroepiandrosterone. DHEA, look it up on the web, DHEA. And that's called the hormone of youth. I'm 68, you know, I look pretty okay for 68. I dye my hair. But my thoughts, words, people I meet, you're the oldest people I'm talking to. Normally I don't talk to anyone over 40. They're so boring. They're like old codgers. Have you had a nice day? No, I haven't had a nice day, but you're not bothered. You're just making conversation. You know, I haven't got time for that rubbish, like Christmas cards. What's it got to do with me? Not because I'm a non-Christian, but I celebrate Christmas. I eat and drink a lot, like, and spend if I had any money, and make a lot of noise and go to Christmas parties. That's what Christmas is about. We've forgotten that it's about helping somebody. We've forgotten that we are bad people who don't allow a pregnant woman a place to give birth. That's what it's about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In reality, we don't help people. This shows.
If you think about just last Friday, Black Friday, all those people
shopping away,
fighting and pushing each other over, and I mean, on the news there was 3 or 4 people that were at the front of the queue, ended up on the ground, and people were just trampling them down.
Okay, so when in India I saw a helicopter dropping food to starving people, and these guys in UK doing that in the shopping mall, what is the difference?
There's nothing. It's just
greed.
Panic.
With the hungry people, they've lost their higher values. They're hungry. They're dying. You know, and I can forgive them. Well, what are these?
I was talking on Wednesday to a gentleman who works for one of the larger computer shops in Newcastle, and he was on about what they had. And he says people were coming in and saying, "What have you got that's a bargain? What's the cheapest thing you've got?" And it was
not what do I need.
No, it was if it's cheap, I'm going to buy it. If you
didn't buy it, you'd have more money in your pocket, matey.
What's the discount? I'll have it.
Yeah.
And he says,
and the fool by all this.
We're buying stuff for nothing. Yes. He's talking about 3 times their yearly takings this year as opposed to last year.
But it's a con. If I don't need it, I don't want it.
Well, that was the thing that Martin Lewis, that used to be money saving expert, but he said that it's only a bargain if you were going to buy it anyway and you would make a saving. If you weren't going to buy it,
the biggest saving is don't spend.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I've got 2 Canon 700Ds. I've got iPhone 6 Plus. I've got 5 or 6 of these cards. I've got the fastest computer there was 2 years ago. It's not the fastest. But somebody told me a hard drive with a lightning conductor. I'm sorry, there's confusion in my head. The lightning connector. And it works. So I've got all the things I need in life. why do I mean, the latest computer will speed up things a little bit more when I can afford it. I've got a battered car. I'm enjoying life.
Yes,
that's what it's all about.
I'm enjoying life. And there are people with 100 times more money and they're miserable as sin. They're going to the doctors. Going to the doctors is a sin, unless you have some serious illness you can't cure, unless you have broken your leg, don't go for just a checkup. I don't go for checkups. It's a con, When you go and get your blood pressure taken, you're already anxious. I spoke to the hospital consultant, Dr. Wilkinson. I said, excuse me, the blood pressures I do are 10, 15 points lower than yours in the hospital. So what you're doing is measuring the wrong thing and people's blood pressure rises to different levels. He said, but that's the only research we can do. I said, then all your research is fake.
Well, when they're starting to get where people are doing their own at home.
Then you're reaching because the African lion lives in Africa. If you study the African lion in the London Zoo, that's where the outpatients is. And I'm more bothered about my parking meter than about what illness I'm going to be told I have. Isn't it? It's a fake setup. And you were talking about hospices. They're good, but you have gone one step further. You made it personal. 1983, Prince Charles opened a place called the Bristol Cancer Center. You heard about it?
I've heard about it.
I've been there. It's now become Penny Braun Health Center. Penny Braun.
Right.
Do you have any contacts with them?
No, I don't.
Because they are another industry? See, this is what I like about you. All these charities. I don't go for Oxfam. I don't go for Rotary. I have no time for all this rubbishy thing. If I do a charity, I'll do it myself. I'll sell my soul and I earn 5,800. Then we sent 2 truckloads of clothes to Syria. Then we did the Christmas thing. It's boring now. I won't do it this year. I'm not a charitable person. I do it because somebody's helped. Give me another charity. So now I found you.
Great.
Isn't it?
Lovely.
Well, it is.
But these are called micro charities. These are real charities.
If you put money towards what Christie's doing, it's all going to be going on what you want.
Yes.
You're not going to have some chief executive sitting in a flash office
on £100,000.
That's right.
And whenever I see an advert for Water Aid, Muslim Aid, this aid on television, I think you spend just thousands of pounds. It means you got money to waste. And you take your car expenses. If a charity is taking car expenses, it's not a charity. It's just a job.
That's right. When I first started off with a charitable organisation, that's how I got into the hospice and that's how I got into the hospital. And before I knew it, it was no ordinary charitable organisation. They created money and it went to a paid job to every one of them. Before you knew it, every admin worker was getting paid, chief executive, and then once they got their therapist in, we'll have to have a coordinator now. Now we've got to have a manager. That's not what it's about. It's about getting it to the people.
And when they're advertising and promoting themselves for persuading you to put money into it, it's not about what good they're doing. They give you analysis of how much of the money you give is going to the charity.
It's very little.
Yes, but that's the number they think you're bothered about, the criteria, not how good the work is doing.
My mother donates. Sorry,
I had a friend who worked for a charity, and he was one of these people that had teams out collecting on the street and what have you. And he was getting good. No, signing up for £5 a month or £10.
Okay.
And when he actually broke it down, they were having at a push, but the winner of his team got a 40-inch colour TV. So where did the 40-inch colour TV come from? He ran
our money.
He ran 20 lads, so there was the 20 lads that needed paying. He needed paying. His manager needed paying, and they had offices down in London that had to be staffed. And you think all of that's got to come out
before any
gets paid, and it's wrong.
It is. It's wrong. And that's where I want to stay away from. I have only myself to answer to and to get on. Marie Curie, Macmillan, and the Queen Elizabeth and many other doctors and nurses, they all refer people to me who use the holiday homes free of charge, but I don't get a penny off them or anything, any off the Macmillan or the Marie Curie. And it doesn't bother me. I get on and do my bit and I do my thing.
I've interviewed them. I've interviewed the fundraiser and this and that. Fine, it's another business. It's a good business. People are not paid exorbitantly, I think, but it's not that charitable. So don't try to impress me. I don't get impressed that easy. A charity is where you give of yourself. Mother Teresa was a charity. Not nurses working and getting a wage. There's a gentleman called EDHI in Pakistan. Look it up. Most of the ambulances, he just sleeps on the floor. And people trust him so much, they throw money at him.
Yeah.
Any illegitimate child, unwanted child, 50th kid, 30th kid, whatever, left at his door, he looks after them. There are people like that on the planet, but they don't want to advertise themselves.
No.
Yeah.
There are good people around. I'm not saying anyone is necessarily a bad person, but be careful who you donate to. I would rather donate to someone whose face I know, who's local. Wow, I mean, Oxfam, Rotary, it's just some boring old people sitting and chatting. And I've been all there. I can't even be bothered to go to these committee meetings. There's all committee meetings. And now we'll run a lottery. And who's brought this? I mean, it's okay for some. I can't stand it.
Well, the beauty of them coming to my holiday homes is when I've had calls from the Macmillan, they can go that day if there's caravans available and take the family and everything, where if you want to go anywhere else you wouldn't be able to do that. I'm away from all the red tape and bureaucracy and everything. So I mean, I had a call off the Macmillan nurse, and in 2 days there was 2 families that went up to the holiday home and they had a fantastic time. And I've also spent 10,000 converting one caravan for people with hoists in and wheelchair, and it's got a wet room and everything for them to be able to go to. It's fantastic. And again, when people come to me at my home at Emmanuel House, you know, like a day hospice, you don't have to go and meet the criteria. You can come in off the street and you can just knock on the door and come in and you can be seen to.
Well, that's the whole meaning of Christmas, isn't it? That you go off the street into a stable and you're looked after, isn't it? That's how it ties up. So next week, we're going to race a sing along, bring along, shout along, cry along, any along, Deponio along, bring your pony, bring your donkey, bring your daddy, bring anyone. Iya, iya, oh.
And plums.
Yes.
Bring a plum.
Oh, we need your plums. Zafar.
We've got to have more
Zafar. Well, Zafar Bhatti, I've passed your phone number to, was it Tom or you?
Tom, we're gonna get this sorted and get this table tennis going.
There's table tennis in Heaton Mosque. Iya, iya, oh.
Oh, Deponio, I'm here with a load of nuttios.
Thank you. Iya, iya, oh.
It's Red Hot Radio. Spice FM 98.
And then that has changed. But yesterday she went, this, that. And actually, Matt Hudson, what is his name? Matt, for his first name. He was saying, Matt is his first name. He was saying, you get the habit. It's true.
It's true. Everybody gets crutch words.
Yes.
And it's amazing because once it's pointed out to you, you recognise it. But you can guarantee 3-4 weeks down the line, you will develop another crutch word. And unless somebody says to you, you're using this all the time, well then you're really, really struggling. That's something that needs, I think, to be addressed. And talking to the chairman of your education slot, what he put on at the beginning I thought was excellent.
Well, he took the courage to have an education slot.
And I thought that was excellent. But what we tried to explain to him was every meeting we have 10 to 15 minutes, which is an education slot, where we'll talk about body language, we'll talk about vocal variety, we'll explain to people how to discover a subject, to develop a speech, how to put a speech together, and also one of the things that it's in a Toastmasters magazine, how to help your butterflies fly in formation, how to keep those butterflies that you've got in your stomach, how to control them.
It's fascinating what you're saying, because I did a speech on stress, but I wouldn't call it stress. I call it glossophobia. So everyone takes it. I'm doing the same damn speech about stress. It is the same thing.
It is.
And interestingly, upstairs, I've been running with my friend Alan Curry thing on employment. And we actually sit down with people and say things like, why are you so frightened of speaking English properly? You're from where? Poland. I said, how many years? He said, 10 years. I said, you've been in Newcastle 10 years? He said, yes. I said, I'll fall off my chair, man. Why do you speak as if you just landed from Poland? Come on, change your English, improve. And to the Indian fellow, I said, you've been here for 12 years as well. You answer telephones, that's your job. There are more foreigners here than I can count on my hand, so I won't go back because their English was even worse than mine. But when I went recently, I was so impressed, I made a video and I put it on. And none of my team even commented. They just ignored it. It's like putting a used condom on the table, you know. Nobody wants to talk about it. You know? It's a bit like that. So, but yesterday was wonderful that you came, you know.
It was an eye-opener for me, all right, because it put in contrast the difference and the culture growth, because I think I don't know how Mick, I haven't had a chance to talk to Mick since we came, but it was very regimented, I think, and it wasn't as relaxed as A1. You know, you start with this rostrum idea and a fancy badge on the front of that. I think
that all frightens people.
Well, it does, and it's also a barrier. You know, the speaking that Christine witnessed at the PSA and what we do at A1. You've got a stage, and part of that thing is to use the stage, and you come forward to the audience
and you walk around.
And you walk around.
Yeah.
You get behind that podium,
and you start talking to individuals,
and you're stuck there. And only hand gestures, you might see anybody lifting their hands above the lectern.
What I found, and me and your president had quite a good conversation, and a lengthy conversation, was there's nobody really learning anything. You get up there and you do your speech, and you do get an evaluation. However, to overcome the crutch words, the ums, ahs, ems, so's, there's nobody pointing them out to anybody.
Well,
and if you notice it,
I took the courage. You weren't there, perhaps. The lady who read the poem after that. She's a little lady. She was a hairdresser, and she's now a city lawyer.
Yeah.
And at her first speech, she says, "Someone took pity and gave me a job." And when she came and sat down next to me, I said, "Congratulations for speaking. You come from the world's most exclusive city called Blythe. You worked in a hairdresser shop, which is not the makings of a city lawyer.
No.
So why aren't you proud of yourself? Why are you so ashamed?"
We would choose to go down. Everything.
That's why she's here.
Yeah.
And you have a thing called cards we are dealt with.
Playing the cards you dealt, yes.
Wow.
Yes,
and that's exactly the same, Christine. There, she's different.
You know, Mike, you and I should be ashamed of ourselves.
Yeah.
Our life has been cozy.
I wanted to give up. There was many times I fell into the depths of despair. I wanted to give up, but I realised by the time I was 18, it was up to me what I did with my life.
That's very early. I met patients who are 50, 60, 70, and they're still playing this game of being depressed.
No.
It's just a game, you know. It goes on and on and on. And psychiatrists make money out of it. The patients get a role, and then they don't have to do washing or cooking. But they're damaging their lives. People don't realize.
This is where I bring in this playing the cards you dealt, because if you're playing cards and you have a game, the only person who can win that game is you.
Yes.
You can't take the cards.
You can't change the cards and say.
You can't do anything about it. They're the cards you're being dealt. And if you want to win the game, you've got to play them to the best of your ability.
The first book this man gave me.
Way of putting it.
The first book he gave me, which is not in Braille, it says SUMO. What does SUMO stand for?
Sumo. Shut up and move on.
That's the name. Honestly, that's the name of the book he gave me to read. I like the hint, Mike. Shut up and move on.
Because still talking.
Mike,
you know, it amazes me. I mean, my brother-in-law was severely disabled. He had terrible arthritis from an early age, and he ended up in a wheelchair. And I got to know Steve through my brother-in-law Alan. But it was remarkable. He had a season ticket at St James's Park. He never missed a game. He went to Wembley. He ended up in a motorised wheelchair, and he got around and he got on with his life, and he lived it to the best of his ability. He went out on a Friday night to the club, on a Saturday night to the club, and on a Sunday, and he had his own group of friends. And it's unfortunate that there's a minority, I think, of the disabled community who play the disabled card. And it is a minority. And people see them on a regular basis, and people then look upon them as the norm.
Yes.
And they're not.
but in time you married and you got an Italian name, obviously married to an Italian gentleman.
Yes, I am.
So how did you get over all that stupendous pain?
Well, when I was 16, I had a massive breakdown and I was rushed into hospital, and I ended up in a mental hospital.
Which one?
It was Stannington at the time.
I know Stannington.
Yeah, Stannington. Yeah. I ended up in there, and I didn't think anybody realised just how ill that I actually was. And,
did they know your story? Did they know how much pain you've been through?
No, they didn't know anything at all. You know, nothing at all. Nobody. It's probably different today. It was a terrible place to have been there because I was put into padded cells. I became a very severe epileptic. depression.
Anything to say, cool, look after me, man. I'm also a human being.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all you were saying.
That's all it was. And I didn't, the epilepsy then, which they're ignorant to today, obviously I was awake and some of these seizures and everything, and they didn't know what was going on, so they kept me in a padded cell where I suffered a big injuries and I ended up losing my sight. Although there's hereditary in the family. My grandmother was blind.
Okay.
My great-grandmother was
so
blind.
So what age were you when you got blind?
I was 16 and a half. When I lost my sight.
I'm just amazed at this woman that she can sit here and talk about it, and I feel like, I mean, interestingly, I had no other music, so I put on this sad Indian music, and I thought I'd change it. But that's making me cry. Honestly, it's really touching me because, you know, here's a girl of 7, her home is broken off, like when we go abroad, like Paddington Bear, landing up in London. Have you seen Paddington movie?
No, I haven't.
Can you see movies? Can you enjoy them?
No, I listen to them and I can enjoy,
Okay. So how blind are you? Can you read anything?
No, I can't see at all. Just light and dark, but a different light and dark to a sighted person, light and dark.
Okay.
You know?
So you can't read anything whatsoever. It doesn't matter the size of the sight.
No, I can't see at all.
And yet you're fully functional.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
But that's the beauty to celebrate Disability Day today, though one day late. It's amazing. So what made you such a nice person?
Well...
Who wants to go to Speakers Club and show off and enjoy life? How dare you enjoy life? You should be sitting miserably knitting booties for your nephews and grandchildren.
I think everything in life is up to us, which path we
take. Disability very badly to the allegedly able-bodied people. Yes. And they sell them badly, they make look negative.
Well, you've got two choices, haven't you? You can either accept and go for the pity and accept people who are not understanding you and whatever it is.
The poor you syndrome.
Yes. You can either accept that or you can get on with your life. And they're all, I think Mick's right, I think the majority do get on with their life and they don't want anybody pitying them and treating them any different to anybody else. We're all people and we want to be treated the same. We might have a white stick to help us get around, or a set of wheels attached to our backside.
A white skin.
Yeah.
Or
I think that was me. I fell into a lot of self-pity because I think sometimes you can end up thinking that you're the only blind person in the world and you forget that there's a lot of other people out there that are far worse off than you.
Who are achieving. Helen Keller and people like that have done so much for the world. And thank God they have a disability.
Yeah.
I used to run asthma swimming club for children. And they all became athletes, you know, because somebody's given some attention. Because they have asthma, I said, come to the swimming pool, which is warm and moist. Cold, dry air is bad for asthma, okay? But I got to know the kids, they became, you know, often, I mean, I don't have a speech impediment. I used to be scared of speaking, you know, in my Catholic school. No, I'm not. I say, what a small audience. I'm nervous here because I'm used to much bigger audiences. So we can overcome our difficulties. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Speakers Club without any pejorative terms, which I warn you, you were not allowed to use because I'm still married to the other Speakers Club. So let's talk about...
Is that the one we were at last night?
Yes.
We're not allowed to talk about that one, are we not?
Well, I'm still married. It's like talking about my ex-husband. I'm in that Speakers Club.
Yes.
It started 45 years ago and it was very good. And it broke off from the Toastmasters. But it became so exclusive that when a woman president joined, a guy left. And the other way to leave is to die because they're all old now. I joined as the youngest person. That, for God's sakes, I was 65. And it's very hard to reach young people and say, but when I heard about you, I went to your club and there were so many foreigners that I thought, well,